Hey everyone, and welcome to Read This Now, the weekly webcast where Brad Gustafson and I share two books that we love and we think you should read when, Brad?
Right now, right this minute. Jen and I only pick the very best.
That's
I feel
right.
Jen, I don't know if you're seeing what I'm seeing, but I feel out microphoned right now by you.
Listen, I feel excited. We both have mics and I'm wearing headphones. It's like we're real professionals. Like suddenly we have crossed over from amateurs to professionals. I don't know how it happened, but I'm real excited about it.
It's amazing. I love it. It's amazing. How's it going, Jen?
Oh, it's going great. I have been reading up a storm. You know how sometimes you're just in those reading jags where, it's like the opposite of a reading slump, which we all have too, where
Yes.
sometimes it's like you're just knocking these books off your pile. It's so exciting. That's where I feel like I am right now. So it's the hardest thing about today was deciding which book I was going to talk about.
Nice. Interestingly enough, I've had a similar experience, not necessarily in volume, but just in diving into reading,
Yeah.
and have found myself over the last couple of weeks thinking on multiple occasions, I love reading. Like it is just a deeply satisfying thing. I also love other things, but reading is one of them. And that is
I
such
know.
a feeling that's hard to explain.
It's also like I don't know, I just feel like it's such a gift. How lucky are we to have access to great books, to be connected through our networks to people who are constantly sharing great books. I just feel like I never ever have to think, oh, I wish I could think of something to read. I always have a list of things that I can choose from, and that just feels like such a gift.
On a random note, before we get to the book talks today, when you mentioned networks, you made me just think of that. A quick shout out to John Shu. So we had a PD, a staff kind of professional learning day on Friday,
Yeah.
in which we served a high volume, a large amount of water and some flavor add-ins. But anyway, I'm staring now at the leftover water, and I don't know how many crates, like massive crates I have, but I've been thinking of you and John this week with all
Ah.
these witty comments going through my mind, because us three are the people I've inserted myself in your group here
I
that
love
drink
it.
more water. We just have what's the word? An affinity for hydration more so than any other human. So I've been thinking about you. I've been thinking about John. I've been drinking a lot of water.
I wish you could see my desk right now. I'm not going to show you just because I'm embarrassed by how messy it is, but there are so many like water bottles and glasses on this desk. David constantly, that my husband David will joke about like, how many drinks do we need at one time? Like, I understand that you need to have something at hand all the time, and I do, but how many exactly do we need? I don't know if you remember, there's a movie called Signs. It's older now. It's like a sci-fi thriller, and a spoiler for anybody who hasn't seen it, but in the end there's a character, a little girl, who constantly has glasses of water everywhere. Like she picks one, she drinks it, and then for whatever reason she needs to go get another one, so there's glasses of water everywhere, and that turns out to be the way that they save the world from these aliens. Like her glasses of water are a huge part of it. And so David will call me the little girl from Signs. He's like, are you awaiting the alien invasion? Is that what's happening? And I'm like,
There's
yes.
something, that story was so good. My mouth hurts from like smiling just internally. Like literally, I'm finding too much joy in that story. That was a good one.
I love it. I love it. Well, our 3.5 viewers, I'm sure that they didn't tune in to hear about our obsession with hydration, that they would like to hear about some books eventually. So why don't we get started? Tell me what you've been reading, my friend.
I will be happy to do that. And I'm percolating on a spin-off podcast called Hydrate now, but we'll
Yes.
circle back to
It'll
the
just be
book.
us drinking. Go ahead.
I've been saving this book for this special perfect moment, Jen, and the moment is now. This was written by actually co-authors Frank Murphy and Alice Lee, illustrated by Kayla Harren.
Mhm.
And the reason I chose this picture book for us is the beautiful illustrations, but it shows families in so many different ways. And one of the things, the older I get in life and just the more I appreciate the nuances of my own family, but also quite honestly, like when I think about my family, I think growing up and into my adulthood, you I don't want to project to anyone else, so I'll just speak about myself, but you kind of think your family's quote unquote normal, and then you realize, well, there is no norm. Like families are different. It's
That's
not,
it.
there are good things, there are bad things, there are different things, there are unique things, there are healthy things, there are unhealthy things, and hopefully we're all in the process of becoming and learning and drawing boundaries and elevating each other and things like that. So the overarching reason I chose this book is for a children's picture book. I think it does a really good job helping to expand the idea of what family could look like. So for example, and I'm not going to share every picture. I did pick out two to share, but a couple of the ones that I'm not going to share. I love how in one of the pages, actually, let me show the cover first.
I love the cover of that book so
Yeah.
much. So gorgeous.
And this is one of those books where in person it's even more beautiful. It's if you know what I mean, it doesn't fully translate over online. But one of the spreads is about family. You might be close to your family, as in proximity, living with them, or not. You might need to Zoom, or it's harder to visit, and that can apply to a lot of things. But one of the, I think about our families who have veterans, or maybe serving far away, and how hard and unique, and maybe sometimes forgotten that is, or at least we don't all think of that every second of the day if that's not our story. Or even families who have parents who are incarcerated. I think they're just a bunch of things that fit that one spread alone. And every spread, an example, I think, is similar to that, where it's not just sharing one nuance, but if you're a child or an adult seeing that, you can connect to it on a lot of different levels. So
Yeah.
I just love how it made me think. So the two pictures or pages I want to share, other than are these called end papers, the beginning?
Yes, look at you.
Okay.
I love
See,
all
I'm
this
learning, Jen. I'm learning.
terminology.
I might be ready for like a medium-sized mic if I keep this up. So the end papers are stunningly beautiful, and
It's
they're a
so
little bit
gorgeous.
unexpected, meaning they don't necessarily align with the cover, at least you wouldn't think. But as you look at each spread, you'll see elements in the end cover, if you look hard enough. So it's a really cool way to kind of extend your reading experience. So the first page I wanted to share, or spread, is spread is a word too,
Look
isn't
at
it?
you. You
I
are
am
just
just like,
like,
I'm
you're on fire today, Gustafson,
feeling
on
good.
fire.
Yeah, I don't know what struck me about this. I just like the truth of it. Some families all look just like one another, and some families are like a rainbow that's just like our world. So I love the fact that the family that looks, oh, let me see here. Am I doing that right? Yeah, the
Yeah.
family that looks like each other, you can just see, like, almost picture very similar kind of orange hair, freckles, a lot of glasses. And some families you notice and you see that. And then
Yes.
the other family, I just love the description. I'm doing horrible at holding up pages
You're
today,
doing
Jen.
great.
Just a rainbow. And if you look at the little one in this picture, she has a different skin tone than her family. I just love how I work in an elementary school, so that's a big part of my world. Kids don't always like, they might do a double take, or their definition of a family might be just what they know, which has the unintended impact of sometimes decreasing the belonging of classmates who have a different family, but yet their
Right.
family matters too. So that was one reason I just loved the beauty of the page and the magic. And I also love just little nuances, like if you look at the family that has the rainbow of skin colors, big smiles. You look at the other family who's alike, they all appear, this is the meaning I'm applying to the pictures, but more serious. And families have different,
Well,
maybe, temperaments too. Do you get what I'm saying?
yeah. Yeah. Also, I mean, the way I look at that picture too, as somebody who is super competitive, like board game time in my family is fun, but also it's serious because there's a competition there. You know what I mean? Like, that's serious fun is what it is. Whereas at the circus or the carnival or whatever at the other, that is less high stakes for someone like me because there's nothing for me to win.
Oh, there are ways to compete at carnivals. There are games, and
That's true.
those are serious as
That's
well.
true.
But
Mm.
And then I also loved, I just connected to this just for a different way for lots of reasons, but I'll share the picture first and then I'll read.
Oh, I love it. So beautiful.
And so that spread, it's families grow together by the memories we create, the traditions we share, the hopes we have, the love we show. And so I love part of a big part of our family is just tradition. Some very, strange and different than others. Some probably a lot of traditions other people have, but I just love it. And then I noticed a couple silly things. I am not a onesie jammy guy, but some of my older grown kids are. So I just love that there's different personalities and things in this and different ways to connect. So for all of those reasons and many more pages and things that are in this book, I recommend you read A Family Like Ours by Frank Murphy and my good friend Alice Lee, illustrated by Kayla Harren. I recommend you
I
read it
love
right
it.
now and fall in love with the story, the illustration, and the examples.
It's so beautiful, so well done. That's just such a lovely and necessary book. I just
Mhm.
feel like it's going to become very special for a lot of families and a lot of readers. A classic.
I think so. I think it's one that readers of all ages can kind of just connect, not only learn and see differences and expand their horizons and
Hmm.
definitions, but just kind of connect with like, that reminds me of me. That reminds me of our family
Yeah.
and in ways that maybe they haven't been able to do before in books. Who knows?
I've been having a lot of conversations with people lately about who they are as readers, and that invariably leads to people talking about like the books they read as a kid and those books that became heart print books, books that became a book of their heart that they always remember as being special or help them feel seen or help them feel validated, like their story mattered as well. And I feel like this is going to be that book for a lot of kids in the future.
Yeah, I'm holding back from sharing other pictures and connections that are just so cool. Like, yes, 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 yes.
We got to let our 3.5 viewers read it for themselves, right? Like we want to give them a taste, but not the whole thing. So they have to go out and get it, right? So that being said, Brad, we haven't recorded an episode in a little while. Both of our schedules have been crazy. Plus, there were the winter holidays in December. So this is the first time we're connecting in a while. And yet, here we are again. It's one of these like deja vu moments because I feel like we always manage to read books that have sort of similar through lines. Like I can feel some connections between our books. You read a picture book or shared a picture book this time. I'm going to share a middle grade novel, but I feel like both of these books speak to the idea of belonging and also like what a family can look like, how families and sometimes families aren't even related. Like there's biological families, but there's also your chosen family, right? And this book to me speaks to that. The book I want to share, I'm going to go ahead and share the cover because I think the cover is so cool. It's called The Misfits, a Royal Conundrum by Lisa Yee and Dan Santat. It is an illustrated novel, so it's a traditional prose novel that also happens to contain cool illustrations from Caldecott medalist and National Book Award winning illustrator Dan Santat. And of course, the words were written by National Book Award longlister and Newbery Honor winner Lisa Yee. So we've already got like a absolute 1-2 punch knockout combination of the author and illustrator here. But while that might be why some adults pick up the book, kids aren't going to care about that, right? They're going to pick it up because of this awesome cover. But I think they're going to fall in love with this book because it really is about what it feels like not to fit in, or those feelings, especially in middle school, I think, although some of us have those feelings throughout our life where we just feel like we don't belong. Like we don't quite fit in with everybody else. Sometimes, I think a lot of times that's a perception. It looks like everybody else has got all of their act together and everybody else has a million friends and everybody else is happy except for us. We're the one person who doesn't fit in, who feels like they don't have their act together, who feels like their life isn't perfect. When, of course, as you mentioned, nobody's life is perfect. Everybody's family is, complicated. Everybody has relationships that they're working on, etc. But in this book, this story revolves around a protagonist named Olive. And Olive, we learn from the very beginning, has a family life that she feels is very confusing for her. Olive feels like she is sort of a second thought for her parents rather than their priority. Her parents travel all the time, and they're not only are they not there, but they forget things like her birthday. They forget what age she is. Olive feels like she's last on their list of priorities. The one person that she sort of relates to and feels at home with is her grandmother, Mimi. But as the story opens, we know grandma has been gone now for a few months. And Olive has no idea what's happened to her grandmother. She assumes that she's passed away, but nobody will tell her how or why. All they will say is that grandma's gone now. Mimi is no longer with us. That's all they'll say. At school, Olive doesn't feel like she fits in. She doesn't really have any friends. She feels invisible, and that's kind of her superpower is invisibility. She can get away with doing things at school that maybe other kids can't because no one notices or sees her, right? Then one day, her mom shows up at school and says, I'm taking you out of this school and I'm enrolling you in a boarding school called RASH, which is RACSH, I believe, which is this unique and mysterious boarding school that it exists on this island in the San Francisco Bay. It used to be a prison. It has a real sort of nefarious, history, etc. And Olive can't figure out if she's done something wrong, if maybe she's in trouble and she's, a criminal being sent to this weird school that used to be a prison, etc. This is all compounded by the fact that on the very day that Olive is taken out of school, all of her social media accounts seem to disappear. And when she goes to the office for the principal to take her out of school, the principal can't even find her in his computer system. So Olive feels like she's literally disappearing now. Not only does she feel invisible, but she's literally disappearing. When she gets to Rash, though, something even weirder happens. Olive starts to feel something she's never felt before, which is at home. She starts to feel amongst her classmates like, oh my gosh, I could maybe have friends here. And those feelings become even more intense when she and her little group, her people that she's found there, get chosen to be part of an elite team of secret agents whose job it is to use their unique skills to not only solve a mystery of a bunch of jewelry heists that have been happening in the area, but also save their new home, their chosen family, from being closed because Rash is on the brink of being closed by its patron. So not only this book, which deals with a lot of heavy feelings, there's lots of heavy feelings here that Olive has to navigate, but it does it in a way that is wrapped up in this caper full of hijinks and adventures and mysteries, where kids get to learn what it means to be a true friend, that families can look and be very, very different from one another and still be perfect as they are, all while feeling like they're part of this cool secret agent team that's got access to cool technology and lots of unique skills. It's super, super fun. And Brad, I can't help but feel like one of the reasons why it's so fun is because Lisa and Dan have been friends for decades. You can feel that friendship on the page, right? They aren't just collaborators, they are BFFs and you feel it. I'm so excited that this is the first in a series. The Misfits is going to be a series where these like kids are going to tackle other hijinks and mysteries. But in the meantime, I feel like so many kids are going to love this book because it's fun. It's got cool illustrations, but also I think it helps kids navigate those feelings of feeling like you don't fit in, which feels like an important book for that age group. So it's called The Misfits. It's by Lisa Yee and Dan Santat, and I feel like you should read it right now.
3 words, Jen. Amazing. And it did seem like
Yes.
these books are connected, maybe even more so than usual. I could see them
Yes.
because I didn't say, as you were talking, there were actually other themes that you talked about that were in this book. Size of family, sometimes family shrinking, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's really cool. And you've once again made me want to read that book, which maybe is the point of these connections. I don't know. That was really good, Jen.
I think we do that for one another. I feel like, you inspire my reading life. I'm delighted when you say sometimes I inspire yours. It's like an unintended consequence of our friendship, but I'm delighted that it happens.
That's amazing. If people are looking for other inspiration or titles that we've talked about over the years, plural,
Yes.
they can go to www, right?
Dot.
readthisnow.net.
Woo!
Right?
Yes,
Because for
100%.
years I had the old website link
That's
memorized, but
right.
now we have upgraded and it is a site to behold. So www.readthisnow.net.
You are on fire, Gustafson. I mean,
That was a
today
little
you
slow.
bat
We'll call that a
1,000.
slow burning fire.
That's okay. It's okay. It's not how fast you get there, as long as you get there. I love it.
Oh, I love it. All right. I am going to go hydrate and drink some water. I hope you have an amazing, amazing day. Thank you, Jen.
You too, my friend. And thank you to our 3.5 readers or watchers or viewers. We will see you next week. Until then, happy reading, everyone.